In this short demo, I want to show you a really practical workflow in SQLite Visualizer, how you can search inside blob columns and then view the results in a way that actually makes sense to a human. The example I'm using here is a ChatGPT database recovered from a RAM dump of a Samsung S22. The user's chat history is stored inside JSON blobs in a SQLite database, which is exactly the kind of data that's normally painful to work with in most tools. Once the database is open in SQLite Visualizer, I'm going to focus on the DB message chunk table. I'll double-click it to open the record view. Here, the chunk column contains blobs, and in this case, those blobs are actually JSON content representing ChatGPT conversations. I'll right-click the chunk column and choose Index this column. We can see that 38 JSON blobs and 8 text blobs were indexed. If I right-click the column again and choose Show Index Statistics, we get some more detail. In this case, SQLite Visualizer indexed over 31,000 words from the blobs in this column, and none of the blobs were skipped. Now I'll open the cell content pane, and in the filter box under the chunk column, I'll search for the keyword jammer. That immediately narrows the results down to just 3 records. When I select the first record, I can see there's one match for the word jammer inside the blob. Same for the second record. But the third record contains 7 matches. I can cycle through each match using the up and down arrow keys in the cell content pane. I also notice that the content is in Markdown format. So I can select the content, choose Markdown in the decoder pane at the bottom, and resize the pane to view the content exactly as the user would have seen it. Now, if I clear the filter, I can see something else interesting. Under the chunk index column, there are groups of 0, 1, or 0, 1, 2, and the message ID is the same for each of those groups. That tells us that some of these JSON files are actually split across multiple blobs. If I select the first chunk, the one with index 0, I can see it starts as JSON. The next one in the sequence might show up as binary or text, but visually it's clearly a continuation of the same JSON document. So let's merge them. I'll select the first blob, click Merge JSON, then click the next 2 blobs in the chain, and finally click Complete Merge. And now, I have the full reconstructed JSON in a single view. And I can decode and view the Markdown content exactly as the user saw it. This is a really good example of how SQLite Visualizer lets you work with real-world application data. Not just rows and columns, but fragmented blobs, embedded JSON, and human-readable content. Instead of exporting, scripting, or guessing, you can search, reconstruct, and interpret this data directly inside the database, and actually understand what the user was doing.